Introducing the Cotton Weed Reel. It saves you time, money, and profit. How? It saves you time because it keeps you from getting in and out of the cotton stripper to pick up those weeds that are in your way. It saves you money because time equals money, saving you hours to days. And increases the productivity of your cotton stripper up to 50%, eliminating the need of laborers to remove the weeds, which equals profit. The Cotton Weed Reel just makes sense.
Anything else you want to say about them?
Save a lot of steps.
Save a lot of steps.
All you have to do is step on the foot pedal whenever you get next to a weed and flip her over backwards. That saves lots of steps in and out.
Now here's a word from the founder of the Cotton Weed Reel, Kenny Lunsford.
This reel will save you time, labor, money, and cotton. Once you purchase a weed reel, you will not have to abandon the outside edges of your field. You won't have to leave pounds of cotton into the field. You don't have to leave maybe your profit in the field if you have the reel, because you can harvest your whole circle. You can save 10 bales, 12 bales, it's according to how good the cotton is in the field. If you purchase a cotton weed reel, you'll be able to pay for it in the first year. Just on the savings, the labor, and able to harvest your whole cotton out of your field. The reel will save you time. You harvest most of your crops in October, November, December. You're trying to get your crop out before it snows. And it gets really aggravating whenever you can't keep your machine running and you're out dilling and pulling the weeds out of the way. With a cotton stripper, whenever you come up to a weed, the only way to get the weed out is you got to stop, get out, and manually remove the weed. It was just really time consuming removing all the weeds. So you had a $100,000 to $150,000 machine not being efficient. Getting out of the system and moving the weed out of the way and then getting back in and starting up. Or you hired some extra help. So anyway, we developed a reel to eliminate a lot of these problems. And the reason why I'm using a fiberglass rod is the flexibility. On the fiberglass rods, they're flexible and they're easy to exchange if something gets in a bind. So we're using 1/2-inch fiberglass rods. And this will hit the weed, it'll flex, kind of give like a spring shot effect. And if you break a rod, they're easy to replace. We'll put fiberglass rods on the reel, and then we build our legs out of 2 by 3/4 inch tubing, and we build the legs to bolt up to the existing hose on your stripper. And there's 2 arms that bolts onto the legs that brings this reel out in front of the stripper. And the reel will run counterclockwise, because it'll take the weed and it'll flip it up and throw it behind you, in front of you. If the wind's blowing out of the south, it's going to be blowing the weed off to the north. I mean, it just gets the weed up in the air so you don't have to stop and pull the weed out. Inside the cab, there is a monitor where you can raise and lower, you can speed and slow, and I've got it now where you can reverse it. We use some of the hydraulics off of the stripper to run the hydraulic motor. Another big advantage on this reel that I've heard from numerous customers is whenever you're stripping a field that's got weeds in it, you had 2 strippers, one with the reel and one without the reel. It would take you, I've had customers say with the reel he could fill his basket in 5 minutes. Without the reel, it might take 20 minutes, 30 minutes to fill the basket.
They really stood behind it. Kent there at Agdraulics, this was one of the earlier models. He gave me a check valve to fix one little issue, and they really seemed to stand by it. So Yeah, very satisfied. They did a good job installing it. It was real neat.
The cotton weed reel has been a time saver for many local farmers. Hear what some of them have to say about the cotton weed reel.
I'm Danny McCurry, representing McCurry Harvesting in Moscow, Kansas. We have bought 2 of Kenny Lunsford's weed reels. These machines are very life-saving when it comes to trying to harvest crop up here in windy conditions. We get a lot of weeds that blow in off the CRP ground and off of the pasture grounds, especially in late harvest season. It makes it really tough. Outer perimeters, you get blowed in weeds that probably would be 30 acres or so. Without these weed reels, that cotton would basically be lost because manual labor would just be cost prohibitive. But with the weed reels, we're able to go in and salvage that cotton and get that harvested in a timely fashion. So it's, I feel like over a year's time, these reels will pretty well pay for themselves in the first year. And it depends on what your acreage are. We're custom harvesters, so we can make it pay. Small time guys have told me within 500 to 1,000 acres, they feel like it's still cost effective to go ahead and do them. They're pretty simple. The controls all run from in the cab, and it's basically just maintenance free, and you don't have any internal labor coming in. So I feel like it's something that if you're growing cotton and you got your own machines, you really need to look at this system because it can save you lots of manpower hours.
I'm Chris Ashway. I manage Cotton Strippers LLC at Moscow, Kansas, and I really like these reels because they save me a lot of manual labor. I don't have to get out and pull weeds out of my header every 5 minutes, save a lot of time, and save us a lot of acres because without those reels, we have to leave some of the perimeter. We have to let it go because we can't even get through it. And features I like about it, it turns both ways, forward and reverse, so you still can get the weeds off your header when they get piled up on top of the header. It's easy to replace those teeth here. I mean, it's a 5-minute job. One person can do it by himself. I like that. And I mean, they're really nice. We just couldn't run without them. I have one on my stripper, and I really like it.
The cotton weed reel has been the best investment I've had for my cotton stripper. It makes it to where I can strip 50% more cotton in weedy fields per day. That is, per day. I can still get my average of 60 to 70 acres a day per machine with the cotton weed reel. This thing pays for itself in the first year. The weed reel has made it possible to grow cotton in Kansas. Without the weed reel, with the weeds coming in from the neighboring fields from even miles away, 10 miles north on these gusty 60-mile-an-hour and 70-mile-an-hour winds, it made it possible to where you feel like you want to grow cotton. My name is Kimmy Clausen. I'm from Satana, Kansas, and we strip our own cotton that we produce.
We've been selling the cotton weed reels for a couple of years now. Have found a definite need in our area to have this product. It's been beneficial for us. The farmers are asking for it more and more. So we glad we got to add it to our line, and just hope to keep selling them in the future.
My name is Randy Brightbill, and we farm 4,000 acres in Hale, Lamb, and Swisher County, Texas. We run 2 7450 John Deere strippers and 1 7455. We have the weed reel on the 7455, and we'd like to have them on all 3. It does a phenomenal job of blown-in weeds, anywhere from kochia to tumbleweeds. The time savings is anywhere from hours to days, depending on the weeds. Manpower is, if you've ever pulled weeds in front of a stripper, it's not very much fun. So, I mean, it can eliminate anywhere from, if you were having to manually pull them in front of a stripper, you'd have 3 to 4 people per machine pulling them because they just won't go through. And this way it either beats them up or it flips them over. It's an awesome tool to watch. You can pay for a unit in 1 or 2 fields if you can't get it out any other way, because there's some fields that it would take hundreds of people to move all the weeds. So I mean, you just have to put a dollar value on what it's worth to you. And that's how you have to figure the payback. With a stripper costing between $150,000 and $180,000 now, that's your largest investment. And if you can speed it up and make it 5%, 10% more productive a day, just do the numbers and figure what that 10% on $150,000 is, and it doesn't take long to pay for one. It's a good product, good tool.
I'm Shad McDaniel. I like this weed reel. Really saves me a lot of time. Helps me out, especially on the edges of fields where weeds blow in, and I'd recommend it.
Here's a word from Kent Kirby, who's the hydraulic specialist of the cotton weed reel.
This is just a demo. It's a 3-row, which is really a miniature size. We use it to hook the hydraulic manifolds and the controls up to before we ship them. And that way we can test the control panels and the wiring harness and the hydraulic manifolds, make sure all the valves work right. We use this to test every unit before it leaves. It's been completely run forwards, backwards. We test the variable control and set that where we get our speed control more accurate and make sure it lifts and lowers properly. We use a hydraulic valve package to control everything that we put together that gives us both the forward and reverse functions for the reel. Some people want reversibility either to knock weeds back out of the header on their cotton strippers or to sometimes help kind of lift up some tall cotton that started falling down after it's gotten wet. And we've got variable speed control with a proportional valve as well as another valve to raise and lower the unit. We do this, everything's connected through this wiring harness that runs up into the cab and goes to a simple control box that's got 4 functions. There's off, forward, and reverse for the reel, raise and lower to get the positioning set. Then we have a dial to vary the speed from virtually stopped to maximum speed, and it's infinitely controllable in between. And then we have another switch that allows us to simply turn it on, flip it to the direction you want, and run that full time. If you're in a field that you've just got a few weeds and you're running up on one every now and then, you can get your speed set and flip it to pedal. Then it's not turning, but there's a foot pedal in the floor, and you run up on a weed or 2 or 3 weeds, your reel will spin as long as you're holding the foot pedal down. You let go of it, it stops and doesn't turn again until you need it. Kenny came up with the concept because it filled a need of his. He was new to growing cotton. They had a lot of tumbleweeds in that area of the Oklahoma Panhandle, and he realized that was a time-consuming and also costly issue dealing with tumbleweeds in the way. Lost a lot of cotton and or a lot of labor to get them out of the header. So he devised the reel, and then it came to me and asked for help with how to run it. The design's worked out really well, and I think we're very satisfied with where it's come, and we've gotten a lot of positive feedback from farmers.
We've had real good success. We've had nothing but good response on the reel. Had other people comment if it wasn't because of the reel, they would have to abandon their cotton. It wasn't feasible enough to hire enough people to go out and remove the weeds from the cotton. I've had people call and just thanking me. I mean, it makes me feel really good whenever I have people calling in and telling how much they appreciated the reel. I had one customer called in, he had 35 acres and he had CRP. He was on the south side of some CRP, he had a north wind that blew a lot of weeds in. He was going to lose his entire crop. And he said if it wasn't for the reel, he would have lost his crop. But since he had the reel, he was able to go ahead and harvest his crop off that field.
For more information on the cotton weed reel, call Kenny Lunsford at 580-545-3332 or go to cottonweedreel.com.